guys, Haley Brockway here, and today I'm going to be walking you through seizing the initiative. So what this is going to look like is talking through some challenges, how that looks in groups and communities, and just turning this chapter of reading into a more comprehensive conversation. So feel free to comment and share below your thoughts and feelings on this subject. So for starters, I wanted you guys to take a second and really consider your greatest achievement. It could be anything big or small. It could be from high school, college, maybe even middle school. I don't really know you. Maybe you did something really cool in middle school. I don't know. And think about that personal leadership, and was that time based around a challenge? I think for me, when I thought about this question initially, before I got to college and really developed myself as a leader, I would have said, no, I don't think my greatest accomplishment was based around a challenge, because that might make it look like you struggled or weren't doing your best in the beginning and show weakness or imperfection. However, I think now that I'm in college and have been faced with really hard challenges in aspects where I've been a leader and where I've been a part of a group that is leading, and I think that these challenges have really stood out as some of my greatest accomplishments, and I think that the reading also agrees with that, and maybe some of you guys do too, or disagree. So going into my personal example of what I think my greatest accomplishment was, and how I thought that was a challenge, is back when I was on the Panhellenic Executive Board, we were faced with the first semester of enforcing new rules and new regulations based on many things, but the biggest one was probably the elimination of waltzes from Greek community at FSU. Waltzes are something that many people loved and look forward to. A waltz is basically on your 21st birthday, you have a banner and a sign and a big celebration for your 21st birthday. However, there were many things involved in these waltzes that were incredibly dangerous and threatening to Greek lives and Greek students and their safety and security as a whole. So this is something that needed to end. And I think that the big thing that was an accomplishment with it was, at first, it was challenging. People just tried to ignore us and not enforce these rules strictly, but really by sticking to it and setting the precedent and the example of not being okay with having these occasions take place was huge. And I think that the biggest thing was thinking about this and knowing that we could have just turned the page and not looked at any of these rules and regulations and actually enforced them and just left that to the next people to deal with. But this was something we actually took accountability for and really tried hard to come up with a solution and make it in a way that people could understand why we were doing a certain thing, and really working together and harnessing as a group. Comment right now, stick to the status quo, so I know you're listening. Right now, in the face of COVID-19, it's incredibly unprecedented times. This is the perfect example of how you and your service site can really take initiative during this pandemic. How can you take the challenge of not being able to meet face-to-face with your service site and engage physically be turned into something that can be thought of as an accomplishment and really make your mark on the service site? My next question is, as a site group and individually, how will you seize the initiative during this pandemic? That leaves me with some final thoughts. I really took away from this section of the reading that leaders find opportunity where others don't. So if you see something that's a problem and a challenge, don't be afraid to challenge that status quo and deal with that problem. Another huge thing when taking initiative is to ask questions on questions on questions. There's no such thing as too many. Grab your groups, grab people that are in your group, that aren't in your group, and get feedback. That's what you need as a leader, and a leader that takes initiative. And then the last tidbit of information is leaders don't stick to just their circle of responsibilities for change to happen. So this means not just sticking within our class and community, but going beyond that and finding areas that need improvement and jumping on that for action. And this concludes me to the final question I have for you guys is, how do you feel about the statement, "This is the way it's always been done"? How does that make you feel?